This is the CRKT Montosa. It's designed by Richard Rogers, and it's about $80, and it comes in 8CR13 MOV. This knife was given to me by Dopey at Blade Show 2023 in Atlanta, and he's like, "I want you to have this knife. I think you'll like it," as a token of us being able to actually meet in person. And it was a very thoughtful gift. He gave me this one. He also gave me a Cold Steel. And I very much appreciate it. I still have them both. Told me to do whatever I wanted to with them, but if you know Dopey, purple is his thing, you know. And this one got me scratching my head, man, because this is the first CRKT that I've ever laid my hands on. That's not a lie, you know. CRKT's been around forever. I've never touched one. In fact, I've avoided them like the plague for good reason, man. You know, they're overpriced for 8CR13 MOV. It's just, like this knife comes in at like $80 on Blade HQ. You can find them brand new on eBay for significantly less, for like the $50 range. And I would definitely suggest going that route if you're going to buy it. And I'm not here today to try to sell it to you. I'm just here today to tell you that I've used the ever-loving shit out of this knife, and I've watched some videos. Love them knives. It's got a good video where he takes it apart. He's talking about it. He's complaining about the steel, and he's like, "Come on, man. AUS 8, anything else, you know," which is I kind of found weird because AUS 8 and 8CR13 MOV are almost exactly the same steel. This knife has done very well, and I've carried this knife for collective weeks, and I'm not talking about like week after week after week after week, but I'll carry it a couple weeks at a time. When I got it, it did look like that Dopey may have put an edge on it. If he didn't, maybe somebody else put an edge on it, and it was an excellent edge. So there's that. So it was not a factory edge. But the knife just keeps on performing. In fact, let me grab some paper real quick. I mean, so it's still sharp. It hasn't been sharpened by me. I've run it across a strop once with some diamond emulsion. That was 5 micron diamond emulsion that I got from Lacey, and a kangaroo strop that I bought off of Nick Edwards behind the edge. Speaking of Lacey also put this edge on this knife. If you know about stock Spydercos, you'll be able to look at that plunge and you'll be able to see that she had to take off. So this knife's been sharpened exactly once, and she took off
5 or 6 sharpenings.
She said she's gonna have to take off about 5 or 6 sharpenings worth to get past the burn, but after that the steel should perform pretty good. So this is an S90V DLT exclusive. So with a good professional edge, I guess you would call it, on both of these knives, this knife actually performed better. The edge lasted longer.
Still lasting longer.
And this is the only knife that it's outperformed in a much more premium steel. I don't buy 8CR knives. There's a lot of 8CR knives that I see, and I'm like, ooh, I like that. And then I look at the steel, and I'm like, I ain't paying for 8CR.
Right.
And that's just been my mind frame.
But if it's gonna last you, and you're not having to take it to the stones all the time because it's been heat treated properly, then it is worth the money.
And when it's time to take it to the stones,
it's a lot easier.
It's a lot easier to sharpen. I don't even have the ability to sharpen this knife right now. I don't have diamond stones that it would take for, I could. I'm not sure exactly where it's heat treated. I think Spyderco heat treats their S90V at 59, so it's not too hard for the stones that I have. I use the Shapton Pro stones, but it's the vanadium carbides are too big in the composition in S90V. So what I would do is I would end up with little chunks in the blade, but that's not what we're here to really talk about. But it kind of is, right? Because I don't want to shy away from that, because when this does need a new edge, it'll take 5 to 6 minutes to run it across the stone and get it back to where it needs to be. after I get through with my little rant, I am going to go over the Montosa, or Montosa. I think it's Montosa, but I don't know. But we'll go over the knife, and I'll tell you some more things I like about it. But for now, just want to brag on this steel, man. Like I'm not as I don't think I'll be as scared of.
I'm sure not every 8CR13 MOV is done as well as others. Just like
No.
every other steel, depending on who's doing it, how they're doing the heat treats, what their process is. You can have the same steel on a couple of different brands.
That's true.
And they're not going to perform the same.
That's true.
But it is reason to not shy away from all 8CR13 MOVs.
Yeah. I mean, that's very true. I mean, you can pick up, and the reason why I would shy away from this stuff right here is because you can pick up a Kershaw all day long for $25 on any retailer in the same steel for, like I said, $25-$30. And the knife may even be more attractive physically. Now, as far as collectability goes, man, I do like to explore different options and different materials. So, I think my value when it comes to different kinds of steels will just be in the collection factor. But as far as putting my faith in a premium steel, even if it has a perfect number of like if the heat treat number is perfect for that steel to perform at maximum level, it doesn't mean anything if the blade geometry is not right. And so, like, how much do we owe Richard Rogers for the design of this nice tall flat grind?
Right.
For that to be like, is it just thin enough behind the edge, or just thick enough behind the edge in order to be able to maintain an edge longer? If the cake is, baked correctly, I guess you would say, all the ingredients are put in.
Yeah.
When you talk about blade geometry and you talk about everything else that goes into that, the heat treat and the steel type. I got to give kudos to CRKT on the heat treat of this 8CR13 MOV. I do want to try another another CRKT knife just to see if I kind of want to pick up another one of these just to see if this one's a fluke, like if it's just an accidentally done good knife. But I may go with a different model altogether. I was looking at the particle separator. You got one? You got any experience with it? Let me know, man. It just looks cool. I don't know about the blade geometry. It doesn't really look like it may have, like it has the absolute best blade geometry, but I do like the way it looks. Other than that, man, I'm
good
extremely
EDC. EDC carry size.
Yeah, and it's not, it's got a 3 1/4 inch blade. It's about the same at the end of this bolster here, or I guess what you would call a bolster. So it's like the overall length. It would be a little bit longer if you went all the way back to the kick. But if you go to the very tip of this scale here, it's still about 3 1/4 inches, and it's about 7 3/4 inch long. So it's about the same size as a Benchmade 940, which this knife also obliterated in testing.
Good performance, yeah.
So I don't know, I like the purple aluminum anodized parts of the knife. It's got a deep carry pocket clip with recessed screws. They did that right. There's a lot done right here. You got a liner lock that's got a very significant lockup. It's probably 40, maybe 50%. But it's easy to move.
Yeah.
It doesn't get stuck.
Doesn't have lock stick.
Blade centering's pretty perfect, or pretty close to perfect. There's just nothing wrong with this knife, man. I'm kind of ashamed of myself for being snobby on this brand for so long, because I'm happy with this knife. I really am. And it was never the only knife that I carried because I didn't have that much faith in it. I was like, it's gonna go at any moment now. The edge will go. I'll be stuck out here on the road, and I won't have a way to sharpen it back into shape. But it was my primary for a while, and it did wonders, man. It did really good. So I've got to let you guys know about that. And what leaves me scratching my head is if CRKT is doing 8CR this well, we know Cold Steel does AUS-8, all, you know, the 4116 steels and the AUS-10s really well. What other brands out there are doing still really good and we just don't know about it?
Right.
You know, and because we're not collecting for performance, really. Not really.
No,
Because this is performance. When we buy something like this, like an Nkosi, you know, we may be buying for, you know, like the resale value.
The GRAIL
or
knife.
Yeah, but like, I mean, and I'm not knocking S45VN or anything. I just don't know if I subscribe as much to the steel politics anymore. You know, I think there's so much more that meets the eye.
And like we watched a video too from Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and he said it best. Like he cut something and he goes, "Can you tell me what steel that was?"
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Not just from looking at it and see it, and then seeing it in use, you're not going to tell the difference between one steel and another, and like just from the naked eye.
Yeah,
like, it's going to take using it and seeing how it performs, see if it's a good steel for you.
That's right. And we were discussing this a little bit in our live earlier, and then whenever we returned some knives to Michael, he was telling us about that video, so we searched it out, and he does make a lot of good points. You know, the steel doesn't really matter. You know, where it matters is going to be personal preference and collectability and what you use it for. And I had already previously come up with my own conclusion that I would rather have a knife that I could sharpen in 5 or 10 minutes than, you know, have a knife that I've got to spend 3 hours at the stone because it's
hoping that's enough.
And hoping that's enough, man. I just don't have 3 hours to play around with. And I was talking to Satu Dave not too long ago about the Doc Schiffer. I think that's right. Okay, so I've never owned any of his knives either, but he had a knife that really spoke to me, and I found one used on eBay, and I sent Satu Dave the pictures of that knife, and he was telling me, he was like, and I was asking him, I was like, Nitro V, isn't that like a 14C28? And I don't have a problem with 14C28. I've had a lot of good luck out of some 14C28, but this is a $600 knife, you know, and I just expected more materials. And Dave said something back then, that was a few months ago, and he said something then that kind of is resonating with me now. And he was like, once a company gets good at heat treating the steel and making knives and using
it becomes their signature. They know what they're doing with it.
Yeah, they know what they're doing with that steel. They're utilizing blade geometries and stuff like that with a specific steel. There's no reason for them to change until they master another steel. You know, and they may have research and development teams out there that are working on that behind the scenes while they're still producing
a premium quality knife. Like, it's not premium material, but premium quality.
So I've kind of changed my mind, man, about this knife. I've never not liked it because it was a gift, right? Mm-hmm. But whenever I saw the price of it, I was like, that is crazy, man. But I've had to change my mind about that. I feel like this knife is worth
$80 worth out of an edge on it.
Yeah, I really have. You know, if you know, like I really have, and you know, in comparison to, I could have bought 2 of these for the same price as the PM2 I showed earlier, or I didn't pay.
Right.
You paid.
Get more life out of this one too.
I may.
Than that PM2.
You never know.
By the time you get done sharpening it again, it's already.
It's it's sad, but you know, I'm not here to beat up anybody as far as knife companies go. But that's just been kind of our experience, you know. Like sometimes the knives that we have the highest expectations with, they let us down the farthest. But
and ones that you don't expect much out of will surprise you.
Sometimes they do, man. It's kind of fun, the whole element of finding that diamond in the rough. So anyway, this video's long enough. I'm sure none of you are still here, but if you are, consider subscribing. You're the subscribers that we need. And if you found value in the content, hit the like button. Leave us a comment regardless. Do you have any stories? Do you have any stories about your own personal voyages and expeditions?
Especially with the CRKT.
With the CRKT or any other brand out there that might be shunned for being overpriced budget knives.
Yeah.
But because there's several of them out there. There's budget. What's but some diamonds in the rough? Like finding some diamonds in the rough is it's exciting sometimes because you feel like you're getting all your money out of the knife. And in my case, I didn't spend any money on the knife,
right.
But I'm getting an ultimate joy of being able to use a gift.
That surprised you.
That surprised the hell out of me, and it opened my eyes to a new brand. Not a new brand, it's a new brand to me, right? Because if I ever seen CRKT on anything, I just automatically...
It was a prejudice stereotype you had.
Well, they have
$50
knives at Academy Sports with 3CR in it.
Right.
And here I am being prejudiced again because I've never used a 3CR knife. So
right. And we've seen some videos of 3CR with cold steel doing just fine.
We have. We don't have any personal experiences with it. We just have our prejudices. So it's, if you got some stories, I want to hear them. Anyway.
Catch you on the flip side.
There we go.